for those of you who knew Sherwin Wine, knew that he was in the business of founding. And after we established the International Institute, we started talking about what kind of a course did we want to create. Believe it or not, I was part of those discussions. And what we decided was to start the leadership program. And we had a Hebrew word, madrich, madricha, and a Yiddish word, Wegweiser, and the English word leader. And that group of people who were those of us who had worked in humanistic Judaism as volunteers for decades got together in someone's home in Philadelphia, and we started studying together. And we were part of the first class. This program means an awful lot to me, and there are people in this room who also went through the program and then went on to do other programs like the rabbinic program. So I was really pleased when I knew that Jeff Trusman was part of the leader program. And he has done an awful lot of this through his own strong motivation. And I don't know how many, there were very few people with you at the time that you started. So it's been an exciting time. And I met Jeff a few years ago when we actually met in person, and I was really intrigued with his willingness to entertain all ideas, to very respectfully share and express his opinions. And I learned to really appreciate his perspective and point of view and the way he handled himself. Now, as I told you earlier, that I get to read the papers from the Philosophic Guidance and Counseling class and review the field work, and Jeff wrote a paper for Philosophic Guidance and Counseling, and I had to write it down because I kept forgetting what it was. He called it Integrating Stoic Principles into Philosophic Guidance and Counseling as an Approach for Secular Humanistic Jews. I look at that now, and I have to tell you, I could never write this paper. No way. But Jeff, you did a beautiful job, and what I want to point out is that I understood everything you said in it, which was a tribute to the way you educate and to your talent as an educator. So I thank you for that, and I invite you up here at this point.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Let's see if my teleprompter works here. It's not working. Okay. First, I want to thank both Rabbi Shalom and Rabbi Jairus. They're outstanding teachers. And I have to say, when I started this program, I thought, well, that's kind of fun and interesting. It'd probably be fairly easy. The first two things were absolutely true. It was fun and interesting. At least it was my type of fun anyway. But it was very interesting. And as far as it being easy, not true. This is a very rigorous program, and I caution anyone who wants to get into it to realize you're going to be working hard. So now that I'm here, what am I going to be doing with this certification? Well, for one thing, I'm going to continue doing the things that I've been doing with the Secular Jewish Circle of Puget Sound. That's my community. I've been teaching Sunday school there for about 15 years. I'm going to continue doing that. I serve on the steering committee. I'll continue doing that. I'll continue doing Bar Mitzvahs. I started doing Bar Mitzvahs about almost 10 years ago because there was nobody else there to do it. So I just started doing it. I did get some guidance from another madrik. I've only done one baby naming ceremony. However, I look forward to doing more of those. And whatever else comes my way at this point, I'm not sure what it'll be, but that part, as far as with the Secular Jewish Circle, that's what I plan to do. What I'm actually going to be doing is spending most of my time doing is on a nonprofit that I started after I retired from being a school librarian. It's called the Jewish Comics Library of Seattle. And since retiring, it's given me a lot of time to do research and development for this idea. And it's basically an independent special collection library. As a school librarian, I was tasked with engaging reluctant readers. And it turns out that reluctant readers aren't all that reluctant when it comes to reading comic books. I could get every kid to read a comic book. It was not that difficult. The first year when I started adding graphic novels to the library collection, my checkout shot up 40%. That said something. The following year, I created some professional development sessions for teachers and other school librarians. Why does this keep doing that? So by the end of that second year, I had several special ed and early language learner teachers tell me that not only were their kids all reading, but at the end of the 20-minute silent reading period, they didn't want to stop. So that told me there's a lot of power in those stories. As I mentioned before, I teach in the Sunday school at Secular Jewish Circle, and I carried over what I've been learning in my day gig, and I started having kids read graphic novels, and I started doing art projects that entailed graphic storytelling, and that's a wonderful thing. Kids really get engaged with that type of activity. So this year I'm hoping to actually get them start working on memoirs when I haven't done that yet. So all this interest in generated questions for me about, well, what is there Jewish involvement in the comic book industry, which is in fact massive, and it's a continuous development. It continued what we call the golden age of comics. It was in the 40s, to the silver age of comics, which is in the 60s, Mad Magazine from the 50s, Underground. Matt always gets that. Yeah, one of the most Jewish publications of all time. Seriously. And then there were underground comics, and then ultimately the first proclaimed graphic novel came out in 1978 by Will Eisner, and it's called A Contract with God. And then there have been many others. I could rattle them off, but that would take forever. So that continues to this day. The main categories I'm seeing coming through are Holocaust stories, personal memoirs, and then religious works, and then there's a bunch of other subgenres. So there's no end in sight. I started raising money to begin building a collection. From the collection, I've been generating and creating programming, which is curriculum. I have a newsletter. This summer, I'm going to be doing some pop-up libraries at the Fremont Sunday Market, which is a farmer's market / crafts fair. It goes throughout the summer. It has booths for public interest activities. So although this is a separate 501c3 from the Secular Jewish Circle of Puget Sound, my vision is to have a physical space that is a library and cultural center. My thought for my community is, why have a synagogue when you could have a library?